When I stepped away from the intense realm of corporate investigations to start my own detective agency, I had no clue what I was getting into. I wanted a quieter life, but trouble seemed to follow me everywhere. My wife, Claire, was initially thrilled about the idea of a more predictable life. But as my cases grew more complicated, the lines between my personal and professional life started to blur. One evening, after a particularly tough case, I found Claire acting distant. Our conversations were awkward, filled with uneasy silences. Despite my best efforts, it was clear something was off. My skills as a detective only seemed to make things worse. When Alex introduced our new client, I sensed she would bring a storm of problems. It wasn't her fault entirely, but the warning signs were there from the start. "Hello, Mr. Mason," she greeted with a nervous smile. I could tell she was married, much like many of my clients. "Jake Mason, ma'am," I replied. "Not the singer. I get that a lot. My dad named me after a character in a classic detective series. Just Jake, not Jacob. So, what can I do for you?" "Your assistant said you could help me," she said, smiling nervously. "A friend recommended you." "I see. All right, Mrs. Lisa Turner. My husband Adam is a counselor. I think he's having an affair, and I need evidence before I proceed with a divorce." She handed me his photo. I examined it closely. He appeared to be in his early 40s with a chiseled jaw, dark hair graying at the edges, and striking blue eyes that probably attracted many women. "Okay, ma'am. Do you know how this process works?" I asked. She nodded. "Give me up to 2 weeks and I'll gather the proof you need. My fee is $5,000 for 2 weeks. Is that acceptable?" "Yes, and half up front, right?" she confirmed. "Do you have an account your husband can't access?" I asked. "Yes, I set one up recently," she said, handing me a $2,500 cashier's check. "My friend said you were the best." "Thank you. Can you describe his suspicious behavior? The more details I have, the better." "Well, he spends every evening and weekend with me, but sometimes his phone is off when I call him during lunch," she explained. "He could be with a client," I suggested. "Maybe, but he's also distant at home. He used to be affectionate, but now he barely touches me and I've noticed perfume on his clothes. Not mine." "Maybe a client hugged him," I said. "How old is he?" "He's 44, she replied. "Men can be less affectionate as they age. Could that be why he's distant?" "Do you think I'm stupid?" she snapped. "No, Mom, I just need to understand why you think he's cheating. Perfume is a strong sign, but it could be innocent. I'll take the case, but I need to know everything. What else is suspicious?" "On Mondays and Wednesdays, he always calls before lunch. Sometimes it goes straight to voicemail," she said. "All right, I'll start investigating tomorrow. I'll update you as soon as I find something." I shook her hand as she stood. "Thank you, Mr. Mason. I hope it's nothing, but I need to know," she smiled warmly. "Anytime, Mrs. Turner. If I don't find anything in 2 weeks, you won't owe me the rest of the fee. That's my guarantee." "Thank you, Mr. Mason." "Call me Jake. Mr. Mason was my father," I smiled. "Okay, Jake. I'm Lisa. Mom is too formal." "All right, Lisa. I'll be in touch soon. Alex, my assistant, has your information." I walked her out, and then Alex came in, taking a seat at my desk. Alex Johnson had been my assistant for 6 years. I'd be lost without her. She has black hair, brown eyes, and a tan from her Mexican heritage. She looks like Jennifer Lopez, but with more curves. "All right, here's what I have." She handed me the dossier she'd compiled online. "Alex is an excellent investigator herself, and I'm proud to have trained her. Adam Turner, counselor." I glanced at the folder, and a red flag went up. A former patient had filed a malpractice suit against him, which was mysteriously withdrawn. The patient's husband divorced her soon after. "This looks shady. Alex, dig deeper into this guy. I have a bad feeling about him," I said. "Yeah, I know." She left the office with a laugh, and I thanked her. "Anytime, boss," she winked and returned to her desk to research Dr. Turner. "Alex is invaluable, and though I pay her well, she deserves even more. We're more like partners, splitting every case 60-40. Our combined annual earnings exceed $200,000, with me netting $150,000 and Alex $110,000 after taxes and expenses. We share an attorney, Wesley Quentin, who helps us legally in exchange for our services. He specializes in divorce and domestic issues. Then there's my wife, Claire, formerly Claire Stern. I met Claire 7 years ago after retiring from my job in Richmond, Virginia, and moving back to San Diego. I had been an insurance investigator but decided to start my own detective agency after a rough case in Paris. Claire is a knockout, standing 58, and we met at a party thrown by my first client. She was the daughter of his friend, and we hit it off immediately. After a year of dating, we married in a small ceremony. I spent 3 years in the Army as an interrogator before being recruited by an insurance company to investigate fraud. I excelled in the role, but eventually decided to go independent in San Diego. Getting a concealed carry license was tough, but now I carry my dad's old Colt 1911, a reliable .45 ACP. Shooting has always been one of my skills. I went over to where Alex was gathering details on Adam Turner's life. "Hey, Alex, once you're done, disconnect for the day. I'm heading home." I reassured her with a smile. She returned it, her eyes conveying more than just professional courtesy. "Claire is lucky to have you," she said. "I hope she knows that." I replied, "I think she does. You'll make someone very happy one day when you decide to settle down," adding a touch of flirtation. "No, Jake, I missed my window a few months back," she shrugged. I wanted to ask more, but she turned back to her computer. "All right, compile your findings, put them in a folder, and I'll grab it tomorrow. Good night." "Good night, boss," she called out as I headed to my car. Driving home, my thoughts were on Claire's recent aloofness. She seemed distracted but refused to discuss it. I decided to confront her. I've seen this behavior before. Emotional distance often signals an affair. Every time I asked what was wrong, she just said, "Nothing." Why do women say that when it's clear something is wrong? We're not mind readers. Lost in thought, I turned onto our street and noticed a Jeep Grand Cherokee parked in front of our house. As I pulled into the driveway, my phone rang. "Hey, babe," I said, seeing Claire's name on the caller ID. "Hey, Jake, when are you getting home? We need to talk," she said, her tone off. "What do you mean? Who is we?" I had a bad feeling it was whoever owned that Jeep. "Just come home soon, okay?" "Okay, I love you," I said. "Okay, bye," she replied. My instincts were screaming that something was wrong. I readied my pocket voice recorder and ensured my phone was set to take pictures. Claire had been acting strangely, and now she sounded urgent. I took a deep breath, snapped a picture of the Jeep's license plate, and went inside, feeling uneasy. Walking in, I saw them kissing. They didn't notice me at first, so I quietly took a picture. Then I stepped into the room and started recording. "Oh my God, Jake, you scared me!" Claire exclaimed. "Would you care to explain why you're making out with someone in my house?" I asked. "That's why I wanted you home, Jake," she said. I looked at the man and instantly recognized him. Adam Turner, my current target. Anger and heartbreak surged, but I had to stay composed. Revenge would come later. "What do you want to talk about?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. "Mr. Mason, can I call you Jake?" the man asked. "No, friends call me Jake. You're not a friend. You're the guy messing around with my wife. Got it?" I chuckled. "Yes, I'm Dr. Adam Turner, and I provide therapy for your wife," he introduced himself. "Does therapy involve kissing my wife in my house?" I asked, raising an eyebrow. "I know it's unconventional, but you'll have to watch us while we do it," he said, cluelessly strengthening my case. "Dr. Turner, right? I hear you're good at psychology," I said, pretending to be interested. "Yes, sometimes my methods are controversial but effective," he boasted. "And how long has my wife been seeing you for therapy?" I asked, suppressing my anger. 2 months now, he confirmed. Claire hadn't mentioned seeing a therapist. I looked at her. "Claire, why didn't you talk to me? I told you years ago to come to me if something was wrong," I said. I guess." She hesitated, looking confused. "Claire, remember what we talked about," Turner said. "You need to take control." His voice was almost hypnotic, and her expression stiffened. "You're right, Adam. I need to show him I'm not just a foolish woman," she said, looking at me. "Claire, what are you talking about? When have I ever pressured you in the bedroom? We always do what you want," I almost shouted. After the wedding, we agreed to discuss new things. You just had to ask, I said. Her expression softened, but Turner's influence made her rigid again. Jake, I need to do this. You can watch or not, but I'm doing it, she said firmly. Claire, don't do it. There will be consequences, I warned, shaking my head. Mr. Mason, let me do my job. Do you have a chair in your bedroom? Turner asked, wanting to use our marital bed. Yes, there is. Wait, you really want me to watch? I asked, horrified. It's necessary, he said with fake sincerity. Well, I hope you don't expect me to participate in this, I said. Mr. Mason, what your wife and I will be doing isn't infidelity. I'm helping her overcome a mental block to improve your relationship. You'll both be stronger after this. He smiled smugly, and I fought the urge to draw my weapon. I won't agree to that. It's infidelity, no matter what you call it, I said, noting his lack of a wedding ring. This is therapy, albeit controversial, not infidelity, he said indulgently. My love for Claire was dead, replaced by numbness and righteous rage. I'm still not agreeing. I shook my head and followed them into the master bedroom. I discreetly pulled out my iPhone and started recording as he undressed Claire and laid her on the bed. She spread her legs willingly, and neither noticed my recording. Last chance, I said. Don't do this. I don't consent. The doctor saw my iPhone but didn't realize it was recording. He grinned. Like you have a choice, he sneered and proceeded. That was all I needed. I got up, grabbed him by the hair, and delivered a nerve strike between his neck and shoulder, dropping him. Doctor, did my ex-wife tell you what I do for a living? He looked confused, and Claire was shocked. I'm a private investigator. I have proof of your affair now. I can divorce her for infidelity and sue you for alienation of affection. I grinned and pulled out my weapon. Colonel Sam Colt makes all men equal. Get dressed, take your lover, and get out, I said calmly, scaring them both. Claire sighed. I looked at the woman who had just broken my heart. Claire, get dressed, pack your things, and get out. Pack your bags and leave, I said, my voice icy and determined. You heard me. The consequences I warned you about start now. I'm calling my attorney to file for divorce and get a restraining order against you and that doctor. I'm glad we don't have children. I wouldn't want them involved in this mess. My voice cracked slightly. Claire, you destroyed my heart. I hope it was worth it. If your lover won't take you in, go back to your parents' place. Claire's face morphed into a mask of confusion and fear. Jake, don't you love me anymore? She asked, her voice trembling. Not after you let another man touch you in our bed, despite my objections, I shouted. You've destroyed our vows and everything we built together. I wanted her to feel my pain. I can't believe I never truly knew you, Claire. I used her full name, which she hated and knew I only used when I was furious. Claire, remember our conversation before we got married about fidelity? You said you had zero tolerance for cheaters. Well, this is exactly that. I accepted your terms back then. Before she could respond, the doctor, standing there smugly, tried to intervene. I pointed my Colt at him, eyes still locked on Claire. You're making a mistake, Mr. Mason. I'm pressing charges. He smirked. No mistake. I found you in bed with my wife and thought she was being attacked. Who will the police believe? The reputable private investigator or the guy claiming it was consensual? Look at Claire's distress. It's good I got here in time. Maybe I should call the police and report it. His face turned pale as he reevaluated his options. Okay, no accusations, he said, attempting a weak grin. I noticed he hadn't mentioned his wife. Interesting. He probably thought he was hiding something from me. I decided to push further. I'm sure the media will love this. Private investigator's wife caught with her therapist. Headline news at 11, I said, shaking my head in contempt. He blushed. No, you can't go public with this, he almost shouted, quickly dressing. Please, keep it private, he pleaded. If you return all the fees my soon-to-be ex-wife paid you, I might consider it. But I'll still sue you for malpractice, I said, cornering him. Deal. Anything you want, he said, panicking. Anything I want? No. I want you to feel the fear and dread for the chaos you've caused in my life. I feel no remorse. He quickly dressed and darted out, slamming the door behind him. I turned to Claire, and she saw the fire in my eyes. Jake, we can work through this, she pleaded, tears streaming down her face. Please, baby. Where was baby when I walked in on you, Claire? Where was the love? I sneered. Get dressed, pack up, and leave. You have an hour. I suggest you go to your parents' place. Claire stared in shock, then started packing. I let her use our suitcases, knowing I'd replace them. I went to my office and called a locksmith in the furniture store. I promised the locksmith a hefty bonus for a rush job on the locks. I ordered a new king-size bed, sheets, and a comforter from the furniture store. When asked why I wanted to dispose of the old bed, I told them I wasn't paying them to ask questions. The tone in my voice made them wisely stay silent. Claire finished packing in 55 minutes. I helped by tossing her suitcases into her car's trunk, then went back inside and slammed the door. I called Wes to get a restraining order against Claire and Dr. Adam Turner. I also asked him to prepare divorce papers and sue for alienation of affection and unethical conduct. An hour later, the locksmith and furniture delivery were done, and I paid them with a credit card. I then canceled Claire's credit and debit cards through the companies and the bank manager, no longer trusting her. If you think I've gone too far, that's your problem. I poured myself a few shots of bourbon, needing something stronger than beer. I sipped and pondered how my marriage had fallen apart. By 7 p.m., I felt I was about to break down and called Alex. Hey, Alex, I said. Hey, Jake, what's going on? She answered. I need your help tonight, I said, glad that the bourbon hadn't muddled my thoughts. What happened? She asked, worried. It's too complicated to explain over the phone. Just come to my house, I said, feeling overwhelmed. Okay, I'll be there soon, she said, and hung up before I could reply. God bless her. 10 minutes later, she knocked on my door. I got up, opened it, and Alex rushed in, giving me a tight hug. She closed the door behind her, locked it, and led me to the couch. She sat me down and sat beside me. So, where's Claire? Alex asked, sensing the situation since Claire's car wasn't in the driveway, and I didn't seem devastated as if she had died. She's gone, probably to her parents. She cheated on me, Alex. I couldn't hold back the flood of emotions any longer. I collapsed into Alex's arms, letting the tears flow freely. She held me tight, her presence a soothing balm for my shattered heart. When the storm of sobs finally subsided, she gently pushed me back and looked deep into my eyes. Jake, are you absolutely sure Claire was cheating? She asked, her voice gentle but probing. I couldn't speak, so I placed my pocket recorder on the coffee table and pressed play. I also showed her the incriminating video on my phone. Alex watched in silence, her expression shifting from shock to fury. I went to grab 2 beers, and when I returned, she had paused both the recording and the video, her eyes burning with anger. I handed her a beer and opened mine. That deceitful witch, Alex finally spat out, taking a long sip. She never minced her words. I smiled weakly, grateful for her fierce loyalty. After a deep breath, she asked, Jake, what's the plan? I want in. I suspect Dr. Turner has been manipulating Claire. If that's the case, she needs help. As for him, I want to bring him down. His wife deserves to know the truth, too, I said, my voice raw with emotion. That's some serious crap, Jake. What's our first move? Alex asked, slipping into her professional demeanor. Recon, I replied, my investigative instincts kicking in. I'm planning to visit his office tonight. If breaking in is too risky for you, you don't have to come. Are you kidding? I'm in. No way I'm backing down, she said, gripping my shoulder. I know Claire, Jake. I think she was coerced into this. I hope so, but I'm not sure I want her back. She's turned our marriage into a nightmare, I said, holding Alex close, feeling the temptation to kiss her but resisting. Alex, I know what you're thinking. It's tempting, but we need to stay focused. We'll stop by the office and pick up the van, she said, masking her feelings. It was clear she had deeper feelings for me. Our playful flirting now had a sharper edge given the circumstances. Part of me wanted to explore this, but I didn't want to betray my principles, even if Claire had betrayed me. I didn't want to hurt Alex, especially if Claire had been manipulated. Alex would be devastated if I reconciled with Claire later. We drove to the office in her car and picked up the van. I stuck some utility company magnets on the van for better camouflage. Nice touch, Alex said admiringly. We reached Dr. Adam Turner's office around 11 p.m. I picked the lock wearing gloves designed to leave no prints while maintaining full dexterity. Once inside, I tested my earpiece to ensure clear communication with Alex. "Reading you loud and clear," Alex confirmed. I had a 50 GB USB drive ready for the task. If Turner had done this to Claire, how many others had he victimized? I called the security company impersonating Dr. Turner and claimed I'd forgotten my password. Using a confident tone, they bought it without verifying my identity. "Amateurs!" Alex giggled in my ear. "Tell me about it," I whispered back. I unlocked Turner's office and powered up his computer. No family photos. He clearly didn't care about his wife. This man, with a beautiful wife at home, was preying on his patients. Password protected. I took a deep breath. He might be clever with women, but he wasn't street smart. Alex had uncovered his pattern of womanizing and multiple malpractice claims that had mysteriously disappeared. I tried Romeo, access denied. Casanova, access denied. Lothario, access granted. What a cliché. I located the files I needed, including those on Claire. I transferred the special patient section, almost maxing out the drive. He had video files of Claire. I removed the drive and put the computer back to sleep, then rifled through his file cabinet. Claire's file was there, but devoid of incriminating details. He wasn't foolish enough to document everything on paper. "Find anything?" Alex asked. "Plenty. No paper trail, but I've got about 45 gigs of video evidence," I replied. "Damn it, we'll review it all when we get back," she said, stressing "we" and "back" in a way that piqued my curiosity. I exited the office, ensuring everything was locked and leaving no trace behind. No security cameras, just an untraceable phone call. It was past 1 a.m. when we returned to my place. I closed the garage door behind us. Before I could speak, Alex fixed me with a determined look. "I'm staying with you tonight, Jake," she declared. "All right, you can take the guest room," I shrugged. "No, I'll stay in your room, in your new bed." "You shouldn't be alone tonight," she said, the invisible tension between us finally surfacing. "Alex, I trust you. You're the only person I trust right now. Please don't make me break my marriage vows tonight," I pleaded. "I promise." She smiled, kissed my cheek, and said, "We'll go over the footage in the morning. I brought my laptop so we can split the work." "Sounds like a plan," I said, heading for a much-needed shower. I felt dirty, not just physically but emotionally. Under the steaming water, memories of betrayal surged back. Suddenly the shower door opened. Alex was there, her presence grounding me. She helped me out, wrapped me in a towel, and guided me to bed. She covered me and climbed in beside me. Exhausted and numb, I quickly fell asleep. When I woke up, Alex was holding me tightly. I decided it was time to address the situation. "Alex, listen to me, okay?" I rasped. She nodded reluctantly, and I continued. "Alex, I'm sorry for what I said. I thought yesterday was a nightmare. I'd be lying if I said I didn't think of you that way sometimes, but I loved my wife, who she was before that creep got to her. If Claire willingly went along with this, I'll divorce her. If that happens and you still want me, I'd be open to it, okay? That's one of the reasons I care so much about you," she sighed. "You're the most honest man I've ever met." Her voice was a mix of admiration and sadness. "Thanks, Alex." When I went to get dressed, she wasn't in the room, but I heard the sizzle of a frying pan in the kitchen. I smiled, put on jeans and a t-shirt, holstered my Colt, and went to find her. I didn't usually carry a weapon at home, but with a possibly dangerous psychologist in the picture, I wasn't taking any chances. I noticed Alex had her 9mm Smith & Wesson with her, having gotten her concealed carry permit shortly after I hired her. "Smells great," I said, genuinely smiling for the first time since this ordeal began. "Thanks, Jake," she smirked, focused on making an omelet with bacon, cheese, and salsa. She wore one of my old t-shirts and jeans from the night before. "Alex, I know this is going to be tough for both of us," I said, sitting at the kitchen counter. She raised an eyebrow. "Boss, I didn't sign up to be patronized. You made it clear from day one that I'd be needed on tough cases. With my background in criminal justice, you knew you could count on me. That hasn't changed, and never will. I couldn't help but fall for you, but that doesn't mean I'll back down from this case. It's personal for me too, because Claire's my friend. That doctor is going to regret messing with us." Everything she said was true. Alex had been an LAPD detective for 2 years, but got fired for roughing up a suspect. She avoided serious charges because the guy was guilty and they wanted to avoid publicity. She received a small severance package to keep quiet, but told me everything during her interview. That honesty was why I hired her. I needed someone unafraid to get their hands dirty, and Alex fit the bill. "You're right," I nodded. "Alex, I need to tell you something even Claire doesn't know." I took a deep breath, trusting Alex completely. She had always been honest with me. "What do you mean?" she asked, confused. "Alex, I never worked for an insurance company. I was a covert operative for a private agency. My name is Jake Mason, and I used to be a spy. Sounds like the start of a TV show, right?" Alex just looked at me, then placed our plates on the counter with our coffee. "God bless Jake. I kind of figured, either that or you had a criminal record." She shrugged. "You're always on alert, like someone's watching you. You know a lot about surveillance, phone tapping, and lockpicking. You're one of the best." I laughed. She was an incredible detective. "You're good," I said, sipping my coffee. "And you make the best coffee on earth." She laughed. "Thanks, boss. I'm not just a pretty face and a hot body, you know." She winked. "I know. If that were the case, I wouldn't have hired you." I shrugged. She kissed my cheek. "Thanks, Jake. No matter what, thank you for everything." "Hey, you're not leaving. You'll work with me until we're old and gray." She paused, then grinned. "You're right, I wouldn't leave even for $1 million a day." "Good, because I can't afford that, and you're the best partner I could hope for." "I'm glad you finally recognized that, boss. Now eat before I spank you," she teased, sticking out her tongue. I did the same and dug into the surprisingly tasty breakfast. That girl could cook. They say the way to a man's heart is through his stomach or other means. For me, it was both. Claire was amazing in bed and a decent cook, but Alex's kitchen skills put Claire to shame. If she entertained half as well as she cooked, I'd seriously consider being with her, even if Claire was manipulated by Dr. Turner. It might sound harsh, but she caved without discussing anything with me. I couldn't believe she would go behind my back to a quack like Turner without telling me. It wasn't like her. She used to share everything at the beginning of our relationship. Only in the last few months after starting therapy did she shut me out almost completely. After breakfast, I helped Alex with the dishes. When we finished, she turned around and, before I could react, wrapped her arms around my neck and pulled my face to hers. "I'm sorry, Jake," she said quietly. "No, Alex, I don't think either of us is sorry about that," I chuckled. "Damn, I wish I'd met you before my wife." "Me too," she said sadly. Damn, someone was going to get hurt no matter how things turned out. I really didn't want it to be either of them. If Claire was coerced or brainwashed, we had to see those videos. "Let's go watch the videos. Maybe they'll shed some light on Claire's mental state," I suggested. I said, "Let's start with the videos." We went to my home office and I downloaded half of the footage onto her laptop. I began with the first interview with Claire. The initial session was straightforward, just an introduction. Dr. Adam Turner was jotting notes and asking Claire about her life. He asked about her husband, me, and other relatives. She spoke fondly of her parents and expressed her love for us all. I studied his face. A sly smile played on his lips. He then asked a few more harmless questions and instructed her not to tell anyone about their sessions, claiming it might negatively impact their therapy. What a manipulative creep. He intended to seduce her from the start, and since she was following his instructions to keep me in the dark, I couldn't do anything to stop it. He exploited her trust in him as a medical professional. Grounds for a negligence suit. The second clip contained more personal questions. He asked about our marriage, jotting down every detail in his infernal notebook. He probed into sensitive areas she didn't want to discuss, but he assured her no one would ever know. She answered honestly, and at the end, he reiterated the confidentiality of their sessions. She agreed. I checked the dates on the recordings. There were 16 sessions, all on Mondays and Wednesdays. I groaned, burying my face in my hands. The third video was hard to watch. Again, he wasn't brainwashing her, just pushing the boundaries of professional ethics. In the fourth video, he began his insidious seduction. He asked her to describe her fantasies in detail. She recounted 2 before the session ended, and he reminded her of their confidentiality agreement. The 5th and 6th videos were similar. She shared her fantasies, and he urged her to keep everything secret. By the 14th video, he had raised her self-esteem to a level of selfishness, convincing her that having 2 men, including me, was part of her therapy. In the 15th video, recorded just a week and a half ago, he suggested being the second man himself. She struggled with the decision for 15 minutes as he gently nudged her toward his desired outcome. Finally, she agreed. The 16th video was the last. This time, she asked him to keep it a secret, saying she would call him when ready. I stopped the video and looked up to see Alex with tears in her eyes and a disgusted expression that mirrored my own. "This guy is a serial seducer, a real Lothario," I said. "Yeah, that was pretty clear from his computer password," Alex added. "I'm going to hit that creep with such a powerful legal blow that he'll wish he'd never been born," I vowed calmly in front of Alex and God. "I agree with you on that one, boss," she said, sitting on the edge of my desk. "It seems like the longer videos are tougher. If it makes you feel any better, all the other women's sessions are shorter than Claire's. She lasted the longest." "I kind of guessed that since her sessions are longer, but you just confirmed it. This guy makes Machiavelli look like a good guy." I shook my head. "But as far as coercion or brainwashing goes, he's not guilty. He's just manipulating them, saying no harm will come of it." "Yeah, I've noticed that too. As far as I can tell, he never involved the husbands in his schemes before, but somehow the husbands always find out and divorce their wives. All the cases I checked ended in divorce." She listed the names of the women and their ex-husbands. "Okay, contact a couple of the ex-husbands and find out how they discovered Dr. Turner's seduction schemes. I need to talk to Lisa." I escorted her out of the room, then pulled out my phone and called Lisa's number. "Hello, Lisa, it's Jake," I said, my voice strained. "Oh, Jake, thanks for calling. Are you going to start your investigation today?" she asked. "Actually, I've already finished it. You were more right than you think. Would you mind coming over to my place today or tomorrow? We have some things to discuss, both personal and professional. Don't get me wrong, I'm not hitting on you, but this matter is very close to my heart," I explained. "Would you like to talk more about it, Jake?" she asked. "Not over the phone. Tonight or tomorrow morning would be best. My assistant Alex will be with us. She has information to share with you as well," I told her. "What is your address?" she asked. I gave her my address, and she said she would be here in 10 minutes. 11 minutes later, I heard a car pull into the driveway. I checked and saw a beautiful Jaguar XJ6. I opened the door for her and Alex brought coffee. I retrieved our laptops and set them on the coffee table. Alex and I sat down on either side of Lisa as I began to explain. "Lisa, Adam is a serial con man who uses his professional authority and credibility to seduce women and betray their husbands behind their backs," I said. "From what we've seen, he preys only on married women. There are no single women in these videos." "Each series of videos is about seduction," Alex added. "He gains their trust, then talks about fantasies or problems in their marriage. Using this information, he seduces them and gets them to do exactly what he wants. He doesn't force his patients or brainwash them, but as you can see, he is a serial offender." I showed her all the series of videos. She gasped at the sheer number. "How the hell could he keep this a secret?" she screamed, her face turning beet red with rage. "Lisa, calm down, please. There's more," I said. I swallowed hard, feeling a lump in my throat. "There's more," I said, my voice trembling. Lisa looked at me like I was speaking a foreign language. "Yes, as I mentioned on the phone, this case is very personal to me. You see, my wife was his latest victim." I showed her Claire Mason's name on the highlighted video. "Oh my God, Jake, I'm so sorry," Lisa said, hugging me tightly. "He's going to pay for this. You can be sure of that." "Lisa, how much is your husband worth?" I asked. "I'm going to sue him for alienation of affection and negligence." "Don't worry. I'll introduce you to the best divorce attorney in California. Wes will take care of you and get you as much as possible," Lisa said with a bitter laugh. "Adam is worth over $250 million, including his global properties. He has a lucrative practice, his books are bestsellers, and he's been on Dr. Phil several times. But most of his money comes from his books." "All right, I propose we hit him with a blitzkrieg. We'll strike hard and fast, but it'll take a few days to prepare. Do you trust us?" I asked, pointing to myself and Alex. "Yes," she said. "You've lost a lot too, Jake. I'm sorry I didn't see through him sooner." "I understand. Come by my office tomorrow morning, and I'll introduce you to Wes. He's handling my divorce from Claire as well as my lawsuits against your husband. By Friday, we hope to involve other ex-husbands in suing him for malpractice and alienation of affection." I laid out my plan, and by the time I finished, Lisa was nodding and smiling. "I can handle that. The challenge will be acting normal around him for 2 more days. I could say I'm visiting my mother. She's elderly, so he'll buy that," Lisa suggested. "That's a good idea. Contact your mother, explain what's happening, and ask her to cover for you. Meanwhile, I have a guest room here with a double bed and space for 2 more cars in the garage," I smiled. Currently, only my car and Alex's car were parked there. I handed Lisa the garage remote, which she gratefully accepted. She went home to pack her things. Alex did the same and returned a half-hour later with enough clothes for the week, placing them in Claire's old dresser. I chuckled at her determination. The next morning, Lisa arrived just as I was getting out of bed after another night's sleep with Alex beside me. Alex was in the shower when I heard the garage door open. Lisa looked well-rested and gave me a sympathetic hug. She brought a small suitcase and some of Adam's financial statements, which made my jaw drop at his liquid assets. Alex cooked breakfast for us, and after another delicious meal, Lisa said she was ready to proceed. "We can move forward once all the ex-husbands and wives are updated on the latest developments. We need to call the 11 ex-husbands and have them inform their ex-wives about what's happening. We plan to file separate lawsuits against Dr. Turner for negligence and alienation of affection," I explained. Most of the ex-husbands were eager for revenge, and most of the ex-wives were ready to join us. I wasn't involving Claire, not after seeing that last video. I arrived at Wes's office with 9 of the 11 ex-husbands and their ex-wives. Since I was ex-husband number 12, I had to be part of the case. Wes, to save time, drafted identical alienation of affection and malpractice papers, just changing the names based on who was next. He was like a kid in a candy store. More than $175 million of Dr. Turner's liquid assets and nearly $100 million in real estate would likely have to be liquidated to pay for malpractice, divorce, and alienation of affection suits. Sure, a class action suit would have been easier, but we wanted to make a statement. I wanted Dr. Adam Turner to know his world was about to collapse like a house of cards. Lisa, Alex, and I waited as Wes assisted the new clients. When he finally finished printing out the legal documents and sent the clients on their way, promising to serve Dr. Turner at his office early Monday morning with plenty of witnesses, it was Lisa and my turn. I filed for divorce from Claire, and Lisa filed for divorce from her soon-to-be ex-husband. Wes was immediately drawn to Lisa, and the attraction seemed mutual. We agreed that each client's papers would be delivered by different process servers simultaneously. Wes, Lisa, Alex, and I shared a moment of grim satisfaction. Monday morning would be packed, and Alex, Lisa, and I would be there to witness it. As a bonus, Wes provided each client with a free restraining order against Dr. Turner. He knew the financial windfall that awaited him once the dust settled. Then came the time for Phase 2. Phase 2 involved bombarding the media and law enforcement with our evidence. I edited the videos of Claire, masking her identity by altering her face and voice with digital tools, removing any trace of our names. Using advanced editing software, I stitched together excerpts from various sessions to illustrate how Dr. Adam Turner methodically seduced women and destroyed marriages for his selfish gratification. I included clips from other sessions demonstrating how he manipulated women into betraying their husbands. I knew this story would captivate the media, and the FBI would likely get involved due to the criminal negligence and exploitation. The California Board of Psychologists would also take notice. To ensure anonymity, I created a dummy email account and used multiple proxy servers. Phase 2 launched on Monday morning right after the process servers completed their work. As the last server left, I handed Lisa a bucket of popcorn. She was munching on it when Dr. Turner came storming out of his office, looking panicked. He saw me standing with his soon-to-be ex-wife and Alex. I picked up my phone, hit the send button on the bulk email, and activated Phase 2. We got into my car and drove away while Dr. Turner screamed threats at us. The last thing I saw of him that day was him kneeling in the parking lot, crying with a stack of papers in his hands. My revenge was far from over. The third step involved meeting Claire. She was staying with her parents and was about to find out she couldn't stay there much longer. We met in a very public place, a Starbucks, my favorite spot. "I'm here. Does that mean you want to talk?" Claire asked hopefully, sitting down across from me. "Actually, I have something to tell you," I said, smiling. "Claire, I could forgive you if you were coerced or brainwashed. But after 16 hours of agreeing to everything he said, you suggested I become a betrayed man. That's unforgivable." I shook my head. "Claire, I loved you more than you can imagine. Loved, past tense. This betrayal ended everything. You've already received the divorce papers." I held them out. "I think you'll find them fair." She looked at the papers in shock. "You're kidding me. I wasn't in my right mind, Jake. Please, you have to believe me," she pleaded. "If I were you, I'd figure out what to tell your parents. They just received an anonymous letter about you," I said, standing up and walking out, leaving her in stunned silence. Wes asked Lisa out on a date, and she accepted. I vouched for his integrity when she asked. "He's a divorce lawyer," I shrugged. "I'll keep an eye on him." She grinned. "He's a nice guy. I wouldn't work with him if he wasn't," I reassured her. The next day, Wes called to say Claire and her lawyer wanted to talk. I agreed and brought Alex for support. "All right, I'm here," I said, sitting across from Claire and her lawyer, who had a striking resemblance to Gloria Allred. Alex sat beside me with Wes. "Mr. Mason, I'm Julia Albrook, representing your wife pro bono. She says you've ruined her, and these terms are unacceptable," she said. "Miss Albrook, I have enough evidence to sway any judge and jury. My soon-to-be ex conspired with her lover to betray me." "I believe my offer is more than fair," I said, leaning back. "Where is that evidence?" Albrook asked. Wes produced a DVD with recordings of the last 2 sessions between Claire and Dr. Turner, my voice recorder, and the video from my phone showing them planning and engaging in the affair. "I have more if you need it," Wes said with a smirk. Albrook looked defeated. She consulted with Claire, then said, "We agree, Mr. Mason." "Good decision." We signed the papers and Jean notarized them. In 30 days, the case would go before a judge. Those 30 days dragged on. Alex and I kissed like teenagers, but I couldn't go all the way with her. I wanted to, but I was either stubborn or foolish. By the end, I leaned toward foolish. Finally, the trial date arrived. We hadn't had any cases since Turner, so it was satisfying to wait for the clock to tick down until we could be together officially. When the judge banged the gavel, I wrapped Alex in my arms and kissed her deeply. Claire approached us as we parted. "I'm really sorry, Jake. I ruined the best thing I had. Alex, please take care of him and don't be as foolish as I was." "Claire, I've loved Jake since I first saw him. I kept my distance because he loved you, but when you did what you did, I couldn't stand by anymore. I love him and promise to take care of him for the rest of our lives," Alex said. Claire hugged her tightly. Alex moved in with me during the 30-day wait. We had plenty to keep us busy while waiting for either my stubbornness to fade or for the divorce to be finalized. When we got home from court, I took off my old wedding ring, threw it on the coffee table, then picked Alex up and carried her into our bedroom. It took 2.5 years for the full effects of my campaign against Dr. Adam Turner to subside. Many people were affected in various ways. Several couples separated by his actions, eventually reconciled and remarried after receiving settlements from their lawsuits. Good for them. I heard about Claire shortly after all the malpractice and personal injury claims were settled against Dr. Turner. She now lives in Vegas and has become a dominatrix, fitting given the issues Turner uncovered in her psyche. Her parents still aren't talking to her thanks to the video. I sent out the incriminating videos of Claire and her lover plotting against me. It was poetic justice. After Lisa divorced Adam, she secured a substantial portion of his assets. The criminal charges hit Adam like a wrecking ball. He pleaded guilty, lost his medical license, and was forced into bankruptcy. However, this didn't stop his victims from seeking their due compensation. It only delayed them slightly. An unnamed individual paid Dr. Turner a visit before his trial began, leaving him hospitalized for weeks. His knees were shattered, both arms broken, and he suffered other serious injuries. How do I know all this? Don't ask and I won't lie. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to clean my trusty old baseball bat. Wes and Lisa dated for 6 months, growing so close that they decided to marry. I stood as Wes's best man and Alex was Lisa's maid of honor. Wes made enough from the lawsuits to retire comfortably, and they planned to spend their retirement traveling and enjoying life. The trial against Turner was a slam dunk. His lawyer failed to exclude the damning videos of him seducing women, leading to a swift conviction on all counts. Turner didn't last long in prison. Guards found him hanging in his cell just 2 days after his arrival. It seemed he preferred ending his life to facing the consequences of his actions. Good riddance. One less predator in the world. After his death, and since he hadn't updated his will, Lisa used the substantial inheritance to compensate those whose lives her ex-husband had destroyed. As for Alex and me, we reaped significant rewards from the lawsuits, $15 million in total. $15 million, I repeated, feeling a mix of vindication and relief. We are now retired, raising our 2 children in peace. Our son Nicholas, named after me thanks to Alex's insistence, is a lively toddler set to start preschool next year. Isabel, our daughter, is a sweet and joyful little girl. We've found happiness and contentment. My last case, filled with twists and turns, ultimately led to a positive outcome.